All right, so today is a little checkup on how the Hive Alive process is going. Now, so to give you an update, I put in this Hive Alive thing about a week ago, and the bees weren't really on it a lot. So, but I was going to leave it here just so that they had access to food. Now, last night we had a windstorm, and I just realized that my top blew off, and it was actually a rain windstorm, and I can't actually believe it, but there are still bees in here. Um, with no top on this hive, I don't know how they didn't get flushed right out. In fact, this actually looks healthier than they were, and by healthier, I mean more numerous than they were in my last video. So that's very impressive. So that was on me. I did not weigh the top heavy enough for a windstorm. And I'm thinking that this added a little bit of bulk underneath of the hood such that the wind could catch under it and probably blew it off. So I'm thinking that's what happened. But anyway, that wasn't really the point of today's video, but it's nice to know that they can survive. So what's going on with the Hive Alive? I mean, the bees are obviously going to it. We have a couple bees on it. I don't think these bees are alive. I think they got stuck. And clearly, there is a drowning issue here going on. Now, I'm doing what they said, which is, leave it in the package exactly as it is. Just rip it open. So I don't really know what I could do to prevent that from happening. Anybody with any ideas? It has been warm. During the rainstorm, it got to 10 degrees, but there was no sun. I'm sure this got melted and watered down a bit with the rain. Everything here is quite sticky. Like, you can tell that it went through. We seem to be very, very lucky that the water managed to flow in such a way that this didn't flood our hive. Because the whole thing is, if this ends up melting and then refreezing, it can wipe out any bees that get caught in it. So, very fortunate the rain ran in whatever direction it did. One bonus is that because the rain washed it everywhere, the bees don't actually have to walk into the sticky stuff to get food. They can peel it right off the wood here, as we're seeing, which is excellent. So they're clearly all coming out to get a little bit of honey. Sorry, pollen. And by that I mean sugar, but in their mind, pollen. And once again, we're still having an issue with our winter here. It is the end of January. It's currently -1, but yesterday was +10. So I don't know if these bees are ever going to know to hibernate. It's just so bizarre. The problem is it gets so warm, they won't hibernate, and then drops to so cold, -10, -20, that they're just not prepared for it. So I'm really hoping that this Hive Alive really helps. I mean, it really sucks when they die. I'm hoping that this is because of the flood of water that came in and they just got caught in it, and then it got so cold that it just hardened with them in it. It's hard to say for sure. I'm sure in the middle of winter this is fine because it would never get sticky. It's just too cold. When I first put it out, it was solid. It was like the consistency of powdered sugar in terms of dryness. So there's no getting stuck to it. But now that it's all been wet and melted and refrozen, it's totally different. But these bees aren't getting stuck, and it's looking like they're getting all the food they need, so that is wonderful. I mean, there's always going to be casualties, unfortunately, but hopefully, ultimately, for the good of the hive, the food pays off, because, half a dozen dead bees is a lot better than a completely starving hive. The queen needs to eat, and the colony needs to continue on. And so this is encouraging in that they are really digging after all this, which is good. So this should be the last of the leaking Hive Alive. I'll put the cover back on and put a weight on it. And then it'll just go back to serving its main purpose of being a frozen dinner right there, which they may or may not really be getting at. I don't know how much they actually got into this and how much of this melted down right here that they're just picking at. Because when I was last here, they weren't going on the block whatsoever. But anyway, one thing I can say for sure, whether or not it's due to the Hive Alive, is the hive is surviving. And they really do like the sugar when they're aware it's here. So anyway, let's see if I can get it really good. I find it so fascinating to watch bees work. Sticky, guys. Be careful. But anyway, excellent. I know now that maybe when they're not eating it to melt it down, they like it more than when it's really hard. The problem is the drowning, because at one point I did the whole powdered sugar syrup thing in a feeder, and they were just drowning themselves endlessly in the feeder. I know there's a way that you can do it with pebbles in it, which is great in the summer, but in the winter, that sugar syrup will just freeze, so that's why the Hive Alive is better that way. But anyway, this looks very encouraging. So far, so good. Just got to get through a couple more months. Really, Canadian winter peaks in February. By March, we should be at least going back to the warmer weather. So they only have about another month of really cold to have to deal with. So here's hoping they make it. All right, thanks, guys.